This is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when wanting to lose weight. This is Debbie, who took part in a 2011 BBC documentary on weight loss. She thought that she had a slow metabolism, so they did some tests on her in this documentary to find out. Let's get to it.
I believe I must be one of those people who has a slow metabolism. I've tried every diet under the sun over the years, nothing seems to have worked. And so I just must conclude that is because of my metabolism.
So, metabolic rate does decline gradually throughout adulthood and drops more significantly after about the age of 60. But obese and overweight people generally don't have slower metabolisms. In fact, because they weigh more and there's more tissue to actually maintain, they generally burn a fair amount more calories than someone at a healthy weight. Conditions like hypothyroidism, where someone genuinely does have a slow metabolism medically, they are very, very rare. Around about under 1% of the population will have a medically diagnosed slow metabolism.
We asked Debbie to have her metabolic rate checked.
To me, as a complete non-scientist, I understand it to be the rate at which my body burns calories. Is that right? I think it is.
Debbie is put under a ventilation hood 12 hours after her last meal. The researchers can now measure how fast her body burns up calories.
Oh, that number
when it's
there
at
is
rest.
interesting. Let's go back to that number there. Okay, so this number here is likely to be her BMR. It's a little bit high because that's roughly what my BMR is. Someone that is almost 6 foot and over 90 kilos and a male. So this is what you would call your coma calories, the amount of calories that you burn at rest. So if Debbie was in a coma, God forbid, this is the amount of calories that she would roughly be burning in a 24-hour period without moving a muscle.
Burns up calories when it's at rest.
And I looked at the data from today's experiment. It's almost spot on what the predicted,
What it should be.
what it should be.
So I haven't got a slow metabolism.
No,
So I can't even blame it on that anymore.
no, I'm afraid not.
To be fair to her, she seems to be taking it very well, and she does seem like a really nice lady who's probably feeling very frustrated and has been on a weight loss journey for a long time.
I'm normal, which is good to hear in one way, but not in another. I'd carried around this myth all my life that I might have something called a slow metabolism. It sounded so romantic, and clearly that's not the case.
So this is a really important part, and a really important thing to note is that myths or internal beliefs can be really, really strongly ingrained into us throughout a lifetime. And a belief, or in this case, a limiting belief, they become self-fulfilling prophecies because Debbie believed so strongly her whole life that she had a slow metabolism, which then meant she would tell herself a story, something along the lines of, no matter what diet I try or how hard I try, it's always going to be a failure. I will always find it harder than other people, and the weight loss that I do experience will be a lot slower than everyone else. And what this then tends to do in return is it causes you to be more or less adherent to a diet, and the application that you put towards a diet isn't quite as good, which then means that you don't get the result that you want. This is either done knowingly or unknowingly. It's not always something that's consciously done. You might unknowingly and subconsciously put less effort in because you subconsciously believe that you have a slow metabolism and it's not going to work anyway. So when you don't get the result, that then feeds back into the belief that you have this slow metabolism, and it becomes this really difficult cycle to get out of.
For me, and for many large people, it's just not true. We're normal.
Debbie agreed to keep a food diary and record all the food she ate over a 9-day period. The first 4 days with a video camera at the end of each day, and the second 5 days with a written food diary immediately after each meal. The idea is to find out if Debbie's eating more than the 2,000 calories a day recommended for the average woman of her age and height. But we're also going to spy on Debbie remotely. She's agreed to drink this special water, known as doubly labelled water. It's ingenious as it contains special isotope markers. By analysing her urine every day, scientists can work out not only how many calories Debbie burns, but remarkably, how many calories she has actually eaten.
So this is obviously 2011, this documentary, but before watching this, I didn't know that existed. That is very cool.
Done. Hello, it's day one. This morning we had massive fruit salad like every morning.
Every night, Debbie must record on video what she's eaten during the day.
This morning we had fruit salad.
On day 5, Debbie switches to a written diary. Instead of waiting to the end of the day, she must write down everything she eats immediately after every meal.
So she started with just a video diary that she just recalled from memory what she ate throughout the day, and then she moved over to a written diary and she'd write down what she ate straight away after the meal.
At the end of the 9 days, her food diary, video diary and urine samples are all sent to the Medical Research Council in Cambridge.
I would be very interested to know how she was tracking her calories, because whether she was weighing each individual ingredient or not is going to make quite a big difference to the accuracy of the calorie tracking. And calorie tracking in itself isn't overly accurate anyway. By law, food labels can be 20% inaccurate either way. So if you look at a sandwich or a label on the sandwich and it says 200 calories, it could be 240, it could be 160. But despite that, the biggest factor towards inaccuracy in tracking calories is always going to be down to human error. And this is, as I mentioned earlier, going to be done knowingly or unknowingly. It doesn't always mean it's a conscious thing. People aren't trying to cheat on purpose. Quite often, a lot of the time, it's done subconsciously. Underreporting isn't always done on purpose.
By examining her urine, it's possible to calculate not only how many calories Debbie's burned in activity, but also how many calories she's actually eaten. In her diaries, Debbie records eating well under 2,000 calories a day.
When you did your diary on the video for us, about 1,100 calories. That's how many you've recorded that you've eaten.
Oh, bloody hell, yeah, okay.
But remember that doubly labelled water. It reveals that Debbie, in fact, ate 3,000 calories a day.
Wow, so she reported 1,100 and she was actually eating 3,000, so that's well over twice the amount.
That's nearly 2/3 of all her calories Debbie either didn't realise she was eating or had forgotten.
So if we go back to that number we saw earlier, the 1,920 I think it was, if that was her BMR or her coma calories, unless she was moving at least 1,000 calories, burning 1,000 calories from her movement on top of that, she's going to be gaining weight from eating 3,000 calories.
Now, we then gave Debbie a written diary because research shows this can help us to be more thorough. But the results show she still forgot to record 43% of what she'd eaten.
I underreported. Wow. Wow, that's quite shocking, isn't it?
So even with her written diary, she was still 43% underreporting. And I feel really, really sorry for Debbie, or at least I feel empathetic towards Debbie, because she seems very frustrated. She seems very genuine. And I don't think she's doing this on purpose. And this is why most diets fail. Not because someone's lazy, not because it's their metabolism, not because they work a desk job or have a sedentary job. That will contribute. But the main reason diets fail is because of your belief. We often will blame things on lack of time or an injury or how busy our life is with kids and a full-time job, but it generally comes down to beliefs, and not having someone there to not just to support you, but to bring to the surface how these internal beliefs, these myths and these stories that we tell ourselves are holding ourselves back, because these myths, these beliefs and these stories, they're going to shape your actions, and then your actions become your results. That's what we do inside the Life Proof program. We help to bring to the surface, bring to light what these myths and beliefs are, and get you to start thinking in a different way so that your actions start to match the results that you want and start to facilitate the results that you want. It generally won't be lack of time, it won't be your age, it won't be a slow metabolism. These things will contribute, but they make up a much smaller percentage of the results that you get compared to the actual internal belief that underpins the actions that you partake, which then will produce the results you do or don't get.